Alright, so I'm going to be solving this problem. It says, Bobby solved the equation 2x minus 1 equals 1/2 x plus 5 by entering 2x minus 1 in for y1 and 1/2 x plus 5 in for y2. And he made this table shown below. So I made the table for you. And then it says, using the table, what is the solution to this equation? And using the table, y1 is 7 and y2 are 7. So y1 and y2 are the same right there. So where that happens, y1 is equal to y2, the left side, this side, is equal to the right side, and that happens right here where x is equal to 4. So x is equal to 4 is the solution. Make sure that you don't put 7 for the solution. I know that that's where y1 and y2 are equal, but you want what x is going to make that happen, and so that's 4. So the solution here is x equals 4. And then it says, describe step by step how to make a table and use it to solve the equation. So how do you make a table? Well, first you always clear the RAM. So the first step is always to clear the RAM. The second step is to push y equals, and y equals is where you're going to put the two functions in. And then you put y1 equals 2x minus 1. So I put y1 equal to the left side, that's 2x minus 1. And then I put y2 equal to 1/2 x plus 5. y2 is 1/2 x plus 5. And then once I have those two equations in, then it's pretty simple to make a table. I push seconds and graph. Now the letters above the graph say table, so you push seconds to make the table instead of the graph. And then once you have that, it looks like this. So let me put those equations in. And I stopped right here when I was putting the equation in because I wanted to show you how to put this half into the calculator. So half is the same as 1 divided by 2. So the next button I push 1 and then divided by, and that gives me my fraction line 2. So that's 1/2 x and then plus 5. So I've got the two sides equal to each other, and then I can push second and table, and it makes my table. And then I need to scroll up and down until I find where they're equal, y1 and y2, and that happens right there. So the solution was 4. The second half here, I made my picture smaller. The second half was solving the equation 2 times x plus 2 equals x minus 1. And we're going to do the same thing, put the left side in for y1 and the right side in for y2 and figure out where they're equal to each other. It says, using the graph, what is the solution? Well, I've solved it for you here. The solution is x equals -4. I've had a couple of very smart people put this into the calculator, and this is actually a typo, but I wanted you to look at the picture, and the solution here, according to the picture, is x equals -4. And then it says, describe step by step how to make a graph. Step 1 is always to clear the RAM. Step 2 is to push y equals and put in y1 and y2. So in this case, y1 is 2 times x plus 2, and y2 is x minus 1. And then step 3, push graph. Graph is on the top right. Graph is right here. And so if you push graph, it'll graph it for you. And then this is the part that's complicated. So step 4. 4. Oh, it's numbering at 5. Step 4, or 5, is push seconds and trace. Now the letters above the word trace is CALC for calculate. So we're going to the calculate menu. The calculate menu is right here. So let's see, seconds and trace, and that gives the calculate menu. And then I want option number 5 for the intersects. So I can push 5 or I can scroll down and then enter, 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 and it will give me the intersection. So let me write that down. Second and trace, then 5 for the intersects, and enter, enter, enter. All right, so those are the steps for making a graph and using it to solve an equation. Let's go ahead and solve the first one of these. All right, so this one is pretty simple. It's just regular old algebra. So I'm going to start by writing down the equation. 5x plus 2 equals -13. I put up my wall because I want to make sure that I've kept the left side away from the right side. Now the opposite of plus 2, I always divide last, so I'm going to move this 5 last. So first I add or subtract. So in the opposite order of PEMDAS, because I'm doing the inverse operations. So I cancel those, they're opposites. 13 and 2 are both negative, so I add them together. The other side is 5 times x. The dotted line is the equal sign. So I've got 5 times x equals -15. And now the opposite of times 5 is divide by 5. Divide by 5 to both sides. Cancel my opposites. X equals 15 over 5 is 3, and there's a negative here but not here, so that's 1 negative, so the answer is -3. Now, I can use the table and the graph to double check that these are correct. I've stopped the recording because I wanted to make sure that you understood something about this negative. So the negative symbol is here underneath the 3, is right here underneath the 3, and it's different than the minus. So if it's negative, that is, it's all by itself, like negative 13, that's when I use the negative symbol, negative 13. In other words, if it's in front, I use the negative symbol underneath the 3. If it's in between two terms, that's when I use the minus symbol. And let's see, table or graph. Let's do the table. And here is the table. I want to see where they're equal. Looks like they're equal right there. When x is negative 3, then y1 and y2 are both equal. All right, and then I just snipped the table here directly from the calculator. Of course, you're going to be drawing this by hand. And then I also snipped the graph directly from the calculator, so that's what the graph looks like. I had to get the calculator to go all the way down to 15 so that negative 13 showed up on it. And then you can see this says x equals negative 5 down here, but don't be fooled. You're looking yourself for where y1 is equal to y2. So let's circle that to make sure that we don't mix ourselves up. Even though this says x equals negative 5, that's just where the cursor is. My solution is right here, where y1 is equal to y2, and that happens at x equals negative 3. Okay, and then for this one, the graph, if I wanted to graph it, I would need to find the intersection. So second calc, option number 5, enter, 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 and the intersection should be negative 3, and it is. So I can circle the intersection here on the graph, and we notice that that happens here where x equals negative 3, so the solution is again x equals negative 3. And on the test, I noticed a lot of people were not using the table to double check. Like they were just assuming I must have this right, and so I'm going to copy the answer over. And the whole point of using all three is that if you get it wrong, you've got a way to double check your answer. So please do make sure you're double checking your answer. This one I've already solved. I'll come back to that. This one is the one that I would like to do at this point. It's a little bit harder. So this equation...